5, 1.
This is number 18 of Dev Branch. Step into the Performance Lab.
Step into the lab. Walk into the lab.
Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. From websites to online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is all you need. A platform that you can go check out over at squarespace.com/WPwatercooler.
I hear it's really easy to make a website.
I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me at Jason Tucker on Twitter.
I'm Steve Zehngut. I'm the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress meetup.
I'm Michelle I'm Say Reed at Say Reed Media on all the things WordPress.
And y'all know who it is. It's your boy Jason Cosper, aka Fat Mullenweg, back at it again on the world's most influential WordPress podcast.
You heard it here
Go
first.
follow that podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. All right, today we are talking about
No, come on, we got to start with the announcement. You guys all saw the press release?
No, what's the press release?
Dude,
I saw tweets about it, but I just got here.
Wix bought Jetpack today.
What?
Yes.
No.
Wow.
Hold on. Wait. Okay. How do you know?
I know we've talked about this in the past. I just didn't expect it.
Explain yourself, Steve.
So what part?
Look at the press release. Are you seeing it now? Did you?
No.
Did
you put the
Google
link in there? Hold on. Give me the link.
Oh.
What is this? I mean, what does this mean for Jetpack now? Like, what are we all going to do?
Is Gutenberg now tied to Jetpack, and so they just got the whole thing?
I don't know.
This is wild.
All right,
That's crazy.
April Fool.
Oh, damn!
Shucks.
That was a good one.
All right,
All right, what are
How you guys doing?
I
Everything
hope
going good
our
today?
audience,
Hopefully
our
none of
live
you-
audience and our
By the way, this is
audience appreciates.
this
the
is the
effort.
second time. This is the second time a water cooler has fallen on April Fool's Day.
We tried a lot less hard this time, and I'm
Yeah,
2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah,
We're still here.
let's be honest. We phoned this one in compared to the last one.
The last
we
one
made
we
background
did a good job.
graphics. We
I
did all
never want
sorts
to
of
live that
stuff.
one down. I was proud. That was good.
All right, what are we talking about?
What? Thanks, Michelle.
So
What
yeah,
are we talking
today
about?
we're
I
going to be
think
talking about
the
stepping
type-
into Performance Lab.
Okay.
The subtitle of this episode should be "It's Cosper Time."
Hell yeah, it's Cosper time.
Cosper time.
Can't touch this.
Can't touch this because it's so fast and loads. You don't even have to load. There's a loading joke in there somewhere. Or
Yeah.
performance
Moving
joke.
on.
In there. April Fools. I
What
wasn't
is
really
the-
trying to make a joke.
What is the Performance Lab?
So, the Performance Lab, the WordPress performance team has been formed within the past few months here. And this is kind of their, the Performance Lab plugin is something that they released, which is kind of their first set of experiments on how to improve the performance of WordPress. So the plugin was initially released. It has just 4 features right now. I hear that they're planning on adding some more, but Jason, if you want to pull up the Performance Lab plugin page on the WordPress.org repo.
By the way,
Plugin page.
by the way, it's not performancelab.com. That's something completely different.
Don't type that in.
Do not go there.
Don't Google it either.
Don't go there.
Right.
It's a whole different kind of performance.
I want to say that I believe I read. Let me rephrase this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like this initial plugin is like, we need some data. Can we have it?
Yeah.
Please? Can we have some of that sweet data that you have and use it to hopefully benefit the greater good? Which,
Sure.
We'll put a pin in that part, but like as far as
Right.
the performance and data collection.
I'm not. I'm not entirely sure about data collection, but I do know that there are the improvements that are being made with the Performance Lab plugin, I think are promising.
Okay.
Since WordPress 5.8, they finally added WebP support to WordPress, and now they're kind of going a step further, where the images that you upload, JPEGs and PNGs, will be converted to the WebP format, which is in most cases more compact, smaller. Basically, it displays on all the major browsers and everything else. So it's really interesting.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Are you down with WebP?
Yeah, you know me.
Okay, just checking. I have a follow-up question that's not.
All right, so we have so far we have MC Hammer and Naughty by Nature. Who's next?
I have a question. That was a real question.
Okay.
Okay.
There's nuance there, but also, does anyone have you guys read about? I have not done a lot of research into just WebP in general, other than what it is, just because I haven't had the opportunity. I'm grateful for this. I'm like, please just do it for me. I appreciate that.
Right.
But
So
is there
according to Wikipedia, WebP is an image file format that Google has developed as a replacement for JPEG, PNG, and GIF file formats.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, let's not talk about whether or not Google and Facebook. Like now, WordPress is like based on Google and Facebook stuff, but whatever. It's all like this. It's like this. But my question is not related to that. It is related to: do you feel that WebP provides a weird sense of a limited sense of image protection because it is not right-clickable in the same way? Well, you can download it, but like you can't view it in the same way.
I mean, are you
PNG
having
like
issues? I was going to say, are you having issues?
I have all kinds of
viewing?
issues, Cosper.
Am I having issues
Sure.
with people right-clicking and that? No, I just
No.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, are you having issues viewing any WebPs that you've downloaded? Like, or is that something that you've actually run into?
No.
Oh, yes, but not necessarily lately. The thing about like Google technology and all technology, but especially Google technology, is that like just the updates are like constant. So if you step out of that stream for like 5 seconds, there's like 70 updates. And so anything that I'm saying is probably out of date, but it is something I've come across mostly. It's something I've come across.
You guys are pronouncing it WebP? I mean, I've been pronouncing it web.
Okay.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
I mean,
that's a choice.
While you're on the Wikipedia page, I have not looked this up. What does WebP actually stand for?
The P is for performance.
Is it?
Great question.
I know it's basic, but I like the basic questions. Sometimes you have to kind of start somewhere.
Sure. No, so the thing
tricky.
that I see about WebP as being handy is I don't know how many times that y'all have run into this, but I see it a lot where people will take something that should be a JPEG and upload a PNG of it instead. Like they take a I see Say's face.
That's not my face. It's leaving the frame so that the shame is nowhere near me because it is so low on my totem pole of caring. And I am grateful to this plugin for anything that takes the need to follow one more like image, like compression, like tracks. Like why? Thank you for existing, Cosper, and having an expertise in this. That's all.
Yeah.
Really what I'm saying here is thank you.
It is really advantageous for this, for this format to become available for people. Of course, there's going to be. And there has been a little bit of pushback from photographers, from people who are just like, I don't want you doing anything with my JPEG other than displaying it on the site, which is understandable if, this will become the default where your JPEG gets uploaded, converted to WebP. It looks fine. There's nothing bad that's actually happening to it. But there are always the people who want everything to be like pixel perfect down to like any sort of like JPEG compression artifacts or anything like that. So like they're always going to,
those people.
I mean, if the internet has taught us anything, it's always that there is that kind of person for no matter what situation you're thinking of.
Totally.
True.
So the plugin's allowing for uploading of it, but it's also adding the ability to support it within site health, the status of inside health.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. And the thing about that is it will basically tell you if you are uploading your images, you're expecting them to be converted to WebP, and you're like, oh, this is still a JPEG. This is still a PNG. You can actually look in site health and it'll tell you why. And normally that check is just, your setup, your hosting setup doesn't allow for this. And then that lets you like put the pressure onto your host and go like, hey, I'd really like to use this new feature. It'll be friendlier on the storage on your servers as well as the speed of my site. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, that's good. And it seems like most of these things are, other than the upload part, is the fact that you're able to see more things within health check.
Yeah,
which is good
for sure. Yeah, I mean all the different. Everything outside of these WebP uploads is stuff that is audits and health check stuff. An interesting thing to go back to the WebP uploads part is that if you are using a plugin that already converts your images to WebP, and there are a number of them out there, a lot of the image optimization plugins do this because WebP is, even though it's from Google, and not necessarily knocking it, but it actually is a superior format for images on the web. So if you are using a plugin that has already converted your stuff to WebP, it should handle it without any problem. There have been a few reported problems in support and things like that in the support forums for it, but they're kind of ironing that out. And this is why this is a plugin instead of just bringing it into WordPress core. I don't know about the rest of you, but I like this trend of hey, we're going to do something in WordPress core. Let's make it a plugin. Let's make sure it works.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wait, I'm sorry. Repeat that last part. Make sure it works before integrating it into core.
Yeah, that's the part that's missing so far, because we've got to make the plugin first, and then the make sure it works part. That's the part.
So, this is all crazy talk.
They did that with MP6 when they were refining WP admin, and that worked for the most part. But sure, with the transition hasn't been as good with Gutenberg. We can talk about that, but we're not talking about Gutenberg today. So let's keep that name out of our motherfucking mouth.
Nice reference.
Good job.
This is not an every show. This is
points for Cosper.
Yeah, you do get points for
and but so all these different audits that they're doing, persistent object cache health check, this is if you are on a shared host, unless that shared host is for whatever reason running memcache or Redis, this is gonna kind of crop up in that health check. This is gonna push maybe the people who are on the edge or on the bubble to growing their site up to some sort of managed either tier at their host or an actual managed host who will have object caching actually available.
By the way, Say is always on the edge.
What?
You weren't paying attention. Go ahead.
I'm always on the edge. I was listening.
So-
I was listening intently. That was
All
my
right.
intent listening phase.
Go on. Oh, water break.
Yeah, this is the water cooler.
You just drank from a water cooler, it looked like.
Yeah, you got to stay hydrated.
Yep.
I have some questions.
Please.
So remember how I was gonna hire you for some contract work on some sites I'm launching, but could I just install this plugin and that's all I really need to do?
Wow.
There are some people who are running this in production. I tend to be. I actually the second WordPress, the new version of WordPress core goes into beta. I start installing that on my main sites, but I am not right in the
I'm
head.
not installing it on my client sites. It's not
Right.
It would be on a staging site, but also okay. Well, so basically, this isn't necessarily the same thing. Like, so a performance review, even though these are. So I guess here's what I'm asking: they're adding a check, they're auditing, but are they also offering solutions
Fix?
like fix like what's site scan whatever Google does, you know, they're like, here's your problems, here's your list of all the things you need to do.
Here's your problem, and here's a whole bunch of stuff you don't understand.
But like
Right.
if, I mean, you know, you can learn to understand that stuff, but is that stuff provided, you know, or is it just like, here's the problem, now you figure out the solution?
I think that is what they're kind of pushing towards.
DIY solution creating.
Sure, there have been a lot of discussions around, like, so you look at this audit and queued assets, like every plugin, theme, whatever you install adds its own CSS and JS. Like it will tell you basically, like in this case, like with the CSS and JavaScript, like it will tell you, oh wow, you've got a lot of these, like you should consider paring it down. I haven't seen actual like education into here's how you do that. Like use fewer plugins, like, but that's not a solution, you know.
Hire an expert.
We're just waiting for like the WordPress preprocessor to preprocess all the CSS and JS and shove it in one or two big files and just call it a day.
Right. Even though that is, at one point that was the way to do it, but that's more of an anti-pattern now.
Yeah.
So I mean, there are people who are still, I mean, there are plenty of people who are still running something like auto optimize that pares everything down, like you said, to like 4 CSS files, 4 JavaScript files, and you're done. But if you don't have, or like if your critical CSS is jumbled up with another 200K of some other CSS, then you actually are creating more of a problem for yourself.
Wow.
And so, first off, is it auto optimize or autoptimize? Because that's the way they spell it. Anyway,
that sounds like a transformer.
Minification can just break your shit, right? Especially
potato.
Yeah.
Wait, can you repeat what you said, Steve?
Minification can just break your stuff.
I thought, wait, okay. So, all right. First of all, everything can break anything, okay? But second of all, did I miss where minification is no longer a thing? Because
no, it's not. It's not that it's no longer a thing. It's just some plugins are smarter about it than others.
Well, okay, right. Some code is better than others.
Yeah.
Did you know that? And I do believe that is why we have our patented phrase, it depends. So
what my platform is minification for some, small American flags for others.
Okay, but so like we're not necessarily talking. Well, I mean, we are, right? So we're talking about this plugin, but we're not talking about performance as a whole. But would this plugin provide that kind of? So for someone like me, right? Like, there's a lot going on besides clients and, you know, children. There's like life things, whatever. And this is the state for a lot of folks who are, you know, agency owners or freelancers or, contract workers, whatever they are, and staying on top of everything in our sphere is a lot, right? You have, especially when you're, architecting sites, if that's a word, and you're pulling in, all these different things. So for example, staying on top of image compression is basically like, I outsource that to Cosper. But does this fill that for performance, and maybe combined with the site health component? Do you feel like this will be the enough to kind of fill that gap?
So the thing is that this plugin is supposed to provide a vehicle for these new functions to be added into WordPress, so that at some point they can graduate out of this plugin and become part of core.
Right. But I'm not talking about that so much, but the features in them, whether or not they're in core or in this plugin,
Right.
doing like, so is the doing the audit and whatever, does that, I kind of was asking it before, like, do they provide the solution? But like, will this scan for like the latest stuff? Is this going to be like and eventually if it's in core, does that mean that your audit check or your site health check will really have the kind of most up-to-date information, like running an ongoing site scan in your dashboard all the time, like, and notifications that say, hey, there's a new compression style. I mean, whatever.
Right. You're still going to need some of those like outside audit tools. You still might occasionally need to run a Lighthouse report or a GT. Yeah,
Sorry.
a GT metric scan, whatever tool you're most comfortable with. However, basically like these site audits that they're adding is sort of like a check engine light, but instead of all of the problems being hidden behind one light, it actually tells you what the fuck is wrong. I mean, I don't know how many of you have had your check engine light come on and then you take it to the mechanic and they're like, oh, it's this. And then your check engine light comes on again years and years into owning the car, take it into the mechanic and you're like, well, I bet it's this. No, that check engine light can mean one of like 3,000 things.
Right.
Like this actually tells you what it is.
This is the OBD2 scanner for the car that the guy's plugging into, and site health is going to say, hey, here's the thing that it could be.
Is this
one of these categories?
Is this the equivalent of the Jetpack site stats in correspondence to
Jetpack now owned by Wix?
Jetpack now owned by Wix. You heard it here first and only here. Is this like Jetpack site stats versus Google Analytics in terms of, because that's really what Jetpack site stats does, right? Like it just gives you like, here's your basic visits, whatever. It doesn't get it down into the nitty gritty. So this is kind of like the performance analysis light, not like site speed, which is like deep drill down.
Sure. Yeah, I see where you're going with that. This is all happening. This is all happening in-house. This is all everything. The calls coming from inside the house. So fortunately, like with the Jetpack stats, you're still sending data up to WordPress.com and automatic. But this is all happening like inside your WordPress install. So your WordPress install
not impacting performance itself.
Right. You don't have to worry. Yeah, you don't have to worry about a third-party server being there or not, or any sort of internet traffic issues, etc.
That's really interesting
for
and
these
smart.
checks.
That's good and reassuring. Also, does running it, is this a plugin that you run all the time or periodically?
All the time. And to note, this WebP conversion for JPEGs does not happen on anything in your library, all your old content. This is only for new uploads. What do you do if you want to go back and update your old stuff to WebP and get all those nice conversions? There's that handy dandy regenerate thumbnails.
Regenerate images.
Yeah.
So this is that part of site health that it would end up showing up in under tools,
Right.
site health, and then in
Oh,
there.
so it's integrated into site health.
Yeah, those
like an
4
add-on for
or
site
3 at the
health.
bottom. Yeah.
That's tidy. I like that.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
it's adding them to site health, just those sections of it. The first 2 are obviously adding new functionality, but the last 3 are adding persistent object cache detection, as well as the auditing in queued assets, and then the auto loaded options. We haven't talked about that part of it yet. Cosper, could you touch on that?
Yeah, auto loads. That is something that has been an issue for for quite some time. Basically, there are plugins that aren't written appropriately and tend to cram their settings into WP options. Yeah, you think that, they're built the WordPress way. Options go where options go. But they have the hubris to say, you know what? I am going to add myself to the auto load, and maybe they're not needed all the time. So you end up having this WP options table that gets inflated, that gets just bloated and crappy and everything else. This audit will tell you when things are starting to look a little corpulent.
Would you be able? Does this affect being able to turn off stuff that might appear in the admin? Is this connected to that at all? Like, because is that stuff auto loading, or that's not the same thing? We're just talking about that.
It's anything that is auto loaded in WP options is like, every time any page in WordPress dynamically loads, anytime you're dealing with like non-cached stuff, those auto load options will just load. So if you have some settings that are being saved that are,
if you find that a lot, is that something that is common?
Oh yeah. If you troubleshoot a lot of WordPress sites, if you dig through, I work with the support team at my job and help them out quite a bit around okay, let's dig through and figure out what auto loaded options should be there and which ones should not be, which ones are saving just way more data than they need to into. Also, a lot of transients, things like that, can, depending on the situation, be auto-loaded. So if you have something that is saving a lot of transients to the database, I don't know, say WooCommerce.
No, WooCommerce doesn't use transients
to the database.
WooCommerce stores all of its data in comment meta.
Right.
Yeah. Why would it do anything in the options table?
Yeah.
Gets me every time.
Sessions
I love our database jokes. And they're a little bit niche. Just a
sessions for comments get stored into WP, or sessions for WooCommerce get stored in the WP options database table. So
wow.
Yeah.
All of the stores.
Now here's where it's fun. Here's the fun part is.
I bet this is what's wrong with LearnDash.
out of so many things, that's what you're gonna. Anyhow,
there's not always a filter. It's called neurodivergence. Embrace me.
we have.
Sometimes I know. So sometimes
now,
it's a little more obvious than others when I'm thinking with my mouth.
One of the interesting things around the auto loads and actually bringing it back to object caching is if you have proper object caching in place, those transients aren't stored in the database in WP options. They're actually stored in your object cache. So you're actually, in Redis, in Memcache, even if you have a flat file, there are, I think, Konstantin Ovenshin, I hope I'm not totally butchering his name, did that Sailed project, which is which will let you put WordPress on DigitalOcean. And he found that in the instance that he spun up, that saving object queries, or putting the object cache in the file system, was faster than Redis for his use case. But even doing that will pull that data out of WP options and basically make your auto load situation not be so bad.
They want a really good auto load situation.
And with that, Steve needs to get to his tea time, so we're gonna head out. Thank you very much for hanging out with us today. We really appreciate it. Hopefully you learned a little bit
Cosper.
about
Thank you, Cosper, for sharing your expertise today.
Yeah.
We value you.
Thank you for sharing all your knowledge on Autoptimize.
Thank you for sharing your knowledge on the world's most influential WordPress podcast.
You know it.
Talk to you later. Here's our outro. So, about that podcast we've been talking about, you can go over to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. And if you want to watch us and watch us roll our eyes and do all the fun things that we do, you can go over to YouTube and watch us over there as well. Talk to y'all later. You have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye. Happy Friday. Don't be on the internet today.